Hello and welcome to a Teller's Tales podcast. This is Chris's Corner. I'm your host Chris Taylor and welcome back to a brand new episode. This week we're talking about how the mind is reflected by the body and the body is reflected by the mind. And what do I mean by that? Well,
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
The mind is there. That is the main thing. This is what's getting through life. This is us cruising through life at hyperspeed, and that is the brain working its butt off for you to visualize, smell, hear, taste the world around you.
It smells like shit in here, you guys.
But what keeps it going is the meat sack that you're in. You know, this thing that is carrying you through life. And I believe the point of this podcast is going to be talking about how it's a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of the type of mind you have. And I've been thinking about a lot about this lately, in the sense that a lot of people just kind of accept how they are or who they are, or they allow themselves to sort of slide off into life. The reason why I keep myself on such a regimented routine in terms of pushing myself physically is so that I can toughen up mentally. Now, the fact that I also have a good physique that is accommodated by that is a reflection of that mental toughness. The ability to have a good diet, to make sure that I'm running, weightlifting, that I'm doing like any sort of activity, going bouldering, going and cycling, whatever it may be. It's this idea of how can you find that new version of you, and that version of you is going to be the one who, knows how to maintain their diet to the sort of perspective where you know what's good for you and what's not good for you.
How do you know what's good for me? That's my opinion!
And if you've become soft physically, if you are allowing yourself to become soft, then that is a reflection of your mind becoming soft. You have allowed your mind to take the easy way out, to take what I would call the 50% of society right now.
Hey, fatty boom boom, hey, fatty boom boom. Hey, want another cream cake?
Because in the West, it seems to me that the majority of human beings are now allowing the soft route, the easy route, I just want to smack my ass into the couch and melt into it. This idea of just being. And I think that the lack of hard times are a reflection of who you are. If you just allow yourself to cruise, I see it in the gyms, even for those who are willing to work out, they're not really there. They are sort of just cruising through their work. It's just doing the bare minimum. Now, it's okay if you want to be average, that's fine. If you want an average physique, if you want an average, body, and you're looking at it and you're thinking, I can live with that, that's fine. But I know deep down, you, the listener, the viewer, are looking at those anime characters, those Gokus, those One Punch Mans, those Chris Taylors. The idea of being ripped, having a six-pack, having the ability to be able to run miles and not have an asthma attack out of it. The ability to be able to do 20 plus, 50 plus push-ups in a row and not have to, worry about it. To be able to do pull-ups, at least 10 in a row, and be able to know deep in your heart that you can do it. This is true strength of mind and body. And, I'm not a religious person, and there's something spiritual, really is, about the connection between the body and the mind when you are pushing yourself through hard times. I think maybe that there's something there in terms of when you get into that serious moments of pain, you've pushed your body beyond the breaking point. The breaking point of, oh crap, I've got to keep doing this or else. Like, I don't know how many people can relate to that. This ability for your body's in so much pain that you've pushed past the pain threshold. Like, you've been dealing with it for so long, for so much time, that it's gone past it. And you're now into, I've got to get it done. Now, this has happened to me a couple of times. And those times I've prepared myself for it. I've prepared for it mentally and physically. And the only times it's ever happened is when I've gone on 20 plus mile runs. It's got to be above that 22 mile sort of mark to be able to get there. And that's only happened a few times for me in my life. When it comes down to working out in the gym, I've never found that threshold. Like, even if I do a 2-hour workout, like, it still feels like I've got enough energy to keep going. So for me personally, I don't know if that's even comparable in any way, shape or form. That you've got the strength, for instance, to keep on increasing your strength, but you can always just rest and recover and come back and try again. When you are doing an endurance sport, it's continuous, it's non-stop, there is no end.
One of the things that people always look for in life, they look for a point where they can rest.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
I'm gonna retire. Like people love that expression, the golden years. They love that expression.
Yes.
They love the idea of a struggle as long as it ends, and then when it ends, they're gonna have a nice, comfortable spot.
It must end.
Yeah,
the
it must
suffering
end.
must end.
Yeah, you should relax, man. You've done so much.
That's right.
You've really done so much. But the idea of reaching this golden year is it's a very flawed idea, because it's an idea that you're gonna work hard, but then you're gonna reach the finish line. But there's no finish line.
No.
It doesn't exist.
That's the scary thing about life, my friend.
That is a scary thing, right?
And
There
that's
is no-
what fatigues me. People go, man, why don't you ever smile? There's no fucking end, my friend. There's no
every
end.
day.
There's no end.
So when people challenge me to stuff that I'm weaker on, and they're like, go do this and do it now and achieve it now, it's not my mindset. My mindset is, let's chip away at this. We've got an iceberg here. This is merely the top. We need to find the whole thing. This is a constant battle, a never-ending road that I talk about constantly. You see, if you want something from yourself, if you're looking at yourself in the mirror and thinking, I'm not happy with who I am right now, and if I'm not happy with how I look, there is, and this is as much as a message to myself as other people, it's like, it is a continuous battle of, okay, I'm not happy right now, let's push forward, let's find a new goal and let's go for it. But if you think it's going to come for you like that tomorrow, or you're really hard on yourself and saying, I must have it today, you need to push that aside. That's a mentality that's going to get you nowhere. You've got to chip at it every single day. And you've got to find some joy in it, because if you don't find the joy in it, that's it. It's over. You might as well give up now, because there's the door. Get on through it. Get in there.
Fuck in there, mate! And take your fucking research with you! Fucking clicker jack! Fuck!
Because you might as well leave. Because if you don't have this mentality of, I'm going to get this done or I'm going to die trying, it's over for you. And I'm sorry that sounds like an extreme mentality, but if you want to be above average, if you want to meet the above point, and this is the funny thing, if you have a six-pack, you're part of the top 1% of humanity. How crazy is that? How crazy is it that we've got to a point in society where that's not the common, it's 1%. 1%. Like, that's crazy. That is nuts to me. Like, it should be such a common thing. It shouldn't even be thought about. It should be like in the old Roman times when people were just like, well, I say that, but technically gladiators were fat to protect themselves from blades. Believe it or not, we always picture in our heads like gladiators being absolutely shredded to the bone, but believe it or not, they were fat so that they could protect themselves from slashes of blades. Anyway, enough history nerding out from me. Back to the point here is when you look at characters like I said earlier, Goku, One Punch Man, there's always a theme. They have to go into that montage of a training montage. Every movie you ever see, the problem with the movies is that it's a short-term, quick, momentary blip in the storyline that you see within the space of less than 3 minutes, basically. If you go watch a film like Rocky, and great, you got the music, you're ready to rock and roll, I'll play a clip in a minute for it, but Rocky's in his training montage, he's going through it, you're ready to rock and roll, and you're like, I'm motivated by this, I'm ready to go. And this is the problem right here. The problem right there is that you have to find that it's going to be a training montage every day of your life. Your body and mind must be reflected by your willingness to keep pushing this thing, this meat vehicle forward. Now, I'm talking about this because I don't know what it is, but for me, I keep hearing things from people where there's a lack of patience. Be patient. Take time. It took me 8 years before I went and ran my first official marathon in the back there. 8 years. And it took me another 5 years of weightlifting before I was able to get above 100 kg bench press. Think about that. How many people would have given up and not even continued to go forward beyond that? They'd be like, fuck this, I'm out. I'm not going to keep going. But people want things immediately because of social media, because of everything. They think it's going to come to them like that. Like their Domino's takeaway that they can immediately get online, like all the fast food in the industry, or the immediate TV show that you can watch on Netflix. This isn't the case. You have to find this mentality of, okay, my mind's toughening. I want to push myself through some seriously tough times. And I'm saying this because I believe I need to push myself even further than I am but at the moment. Like, I'm working out 7 days a week every day, and I feel like I eat relatively clean 90% of the time, every single day, eating similar things, but I also feel myself craving a little bit more every time. Now, I can go into extreme modes like everybody, where I'm gonna run every single day. Like, I've said this in one of the podcasts where I'm like, I'm gonna run every single. It's not possible to be able to maintain that, going from running 3 days a week and also lifting weights the other 4 days to running every single day, or even adding a fourth day of running. Your body will just crash. You've got to find how your body can adapt to it. So you can add a run in every other week, or add an extra weightlifting session every other week, and then you build upon it.
No matter what happens, the storm eventually ends. And when the storm does end, you want to make sure that you're ready. And so I've really learned to put one foot in front of the other, good, bad, or indifferent, because eventually that storm passes.
Now, initially when I was younger, when I was 23 and I was just starting out, I started out just rocking and rolling, ready, running every day, doing calisthenics every single day. And luckily for me, initially, I didn't get injured. Now, later on down the line, when I was in my second half of the first year of training, I added in football as well, and that's when the injuries started kicking in, and I was getting shin splints and stress fractures all the time because I was running during the football matches, I was running in my free time, I was then also doing weightlifting at the gym, I was doing a full-time job, and I was also commuting to and from work at that time, but this was pre-pandemic. And so this is what happens when you push yourself too quickly too soon. And so my body wasn't tough enough to match my mindset. And that can be also something that you might find quite difficult to deal with, is that your mind really wants to push you further, but your body hasn't accommodated yet. But that doesn't mean you let yourself have a day off. There are no days off. There are no rest days. This is the greatest lie the fitness industry has ever told, is that you need a rest day. That is a fucking lie, and it infuriates me that people say this. Like, you need a rest day. Shut the fuck up. You have no idea what the body and the human being is capable of. I've been doing this shit for 5 years straight without rest days, and I get angry about this because so many people use it as some sort of recovery mechanism for making the body stronger. You sleep 8 hours a day. Your body is recovering the entire time of those 8 hours. You sleep half your life, basically. That is your recovery. Your recovery is your food as well that you're getting, your water, your minerals. Those are recovery as well. And taking showers, all these things.
But my resets are like, I call them aid stations, mental aid stations. So when you're going fucking hard and you're grinding all the fucking time, like everybody knows, there's 24 hours in a day. But when I'm in the shower, it's a mental aid station. I don't think about shit. I don't fucking think about people. I don't think about work. I don't think about running. I don't think about working out. When I'm in the car, another fucking mental aid station. When I'm fucking eating, mental aid station. So people eat and they work and all that sort of shit, man. So I can grind hard because a lot of times, man, I'm in mental fucking aid stations.
You are only working out for probably a max of 1 hour a day. You have another 23 hours of rest throughout the rest of those days. You have to be going extremely hard. And out of the 99% of you who are listening who think that you're going extremely hard, you're not going as hard as you would be to be able to maximize the point where you would have to take a day off from rest. That is the point. Like, when your body will go into a shock, maybe. That's when you've pushed yourself too hard in the gym. And for instance, when you do a leg day and you literally are shaking when you're leaving the gym, you've gone way too hard. You need to be going to the point where you're able to do the exact same workout the next day. And you should be able to do it day in, day out, day in, day out. My workouts, for instance, when I run 13 miles, it doesn't mean I can't run the next day. It means I can run the next day. It means I can go weightlift the next day. And by switching between one or the other, it allows me to be able to maximize the amount of muscle mass I can build, the amount of running I can do, and it also means that my cardiovascular system is pumping throughout both. A good example would be, for instance, when I was working out today, I worked out for basically an hour and a half straight. A solid session. Took some pre-workout beforehand. I was going in ready, raring to go, kicking ass and taking names. And I started off with 45 pull-ups on the bar. There is nothing better than getting a solid amount of pull-ups. I started off with a nice 13 13 in a row, and I was just like pulling up strict pull-ups on, and my favorite pull-up bar, just a strict steel bar connected by a squat rack. Oh, there's nothing better than those, because you are able to know that you're not going to have any sort of movement from the bar. By having no movement, it maximizes your ability to just utilize your body, and that means that you're going to be able to get the most amount of power from your pull-ups. I find, for instance, when I'm able to do that, it means that I get less tired and I can focus purely on my back muscles when I'm doing it, and I'm isolating those lats as I'm going up, down, and it also means as well that I am not tiring out my forearms either, which is good, because obviously you want to be able to maximize your back and not your biceps and your forearms when you are doing pull-ups. Top tip there. Back to what I was saying though, the workout itself, by doing an hour and a half workout, didn't mean that, for instance, later in the day, I could go on an hour walk. Boom, we add in further. This is the ability for your body to be able to continuously do things, continuously do activities. That's 2 in one day. Now that's technically neat, non-exercise really, but walking's good for you, whatever you do. I personally think that if you've done a run during the day and you still want to go for a walk in the evening, that's totally fine. It's not pushing any barriers, very good for your mental health, allows you to kind of just relax, de-stress, take any sort of negativity out of your life. You're listening to audiobooks, you're enjoying, I'm placing Guts as theme in the background just in the evening, and that's something that I really do for me, those lovely walks. Sadly, when the winter kicks in the United Kingdom, that is just going to go straight out the window, and I'm going to have to get more miles on the treadmill, sadly, because that is the negative part of living in the UK when it gets dark during the winter, is the fact that you can't walk in the evenings, in the mornings when it's, well, you can, but it's very dark. So, and where I walk up and down, it's that'll be a little bit dangerous. So, moving on from there. So, one thing that I would say when you're connecting with the body and the mind is that you have to allow yourself to be able to find positivity out of it. So for instance, I give myself rewards in food. Now, this can be a very negative thing for certain people. For me personally, I can't have sweet things in the house. That is a reflection of my weak mind in terms of food. We all have weaknesses, and I've found a way to be able to maximize my strength in this one and be able to keep the sweet stuff out of the house, and I have to go out and buy it. So I have to go to the shops to be able to get sweets, and I make sure that I only do that on Fridays, or if I'm having a really long run, on Sundays as well.
Look at me, I'm a big fat slob!
And this is the way that I allow myself to be able to keep that flexibility within my life, and it allows my body and mind to keep on strengthening without, just eating the same meals every day. One thing that I've also found is that you have to have these maintenance periods. You can't just keep cutting and bulking and just being in these periods of your life where you are, going to extremes. Because one thing I have found is that when I've got really, really lean at like 83 kilograms or 82 kilograms, it's just like I'm eating like 2,200 calories, which is fine. It's no problem. It's just that my strength has just gone out the window, and I'm only able to do properly calisthenics really, and it kind of, my running suffers as well, because obviously I'm lightheaded and I have to eat more to be able to recover from that, and it's a negative cycle. So what you should try and do every now and then is just, for instance, I went on a bulk last winter, and since then I've just kind of cruised at a nice maintenance level, and so I won't do another cut until, as I said all the way back in those podcasts, until next year. And this is why I said that I wasn't going to allow myself this year to be too lean, and I was going to wait till next year, because I wanted to be able to allow my body to be able to have a maintenance period for a very long period of time at a good amount of calories. Your body reflects your mind. See here, by doing so, I've found a shape for myself, a good physique, which I'm pleased with, which is part of the top 1%, whatever it is, and I've allowed myself to be able to find a maintenance level or a routine that continuously pushes me mentally and physically. 13 miles at the moment on a Sunday has become difficult again, which means that my body needs to be pushed further, because I've come back and I think I've relaxed. Goggins talks about it as well. It's like, once you find your, I used to talk about this when I was younger. It's like, people used to say to me, Chris, what are you training for? And I said, I'd give some fucking snarky little comment like, I'm training for life, man, like sarcastic as fuck.
Don't get sarcastic with me, son.
And and I was, I didn't have a goal at the time, because for those 8 years before the marathon, I was just training because I wanted to get better, because I wanted to push myself further, because I wasn't happy with the way that I was operating beforehand, and I wanted to be alongside Goggins, Cam Hanes, Truett Haynes, all of those top dogs, and I still want that. That will be my dream goal, is to one day run alongside them, and to do that I have to keep pushing further. I have to keep pushing forward, and your body must reflect your mind reflects your body. And so I'm also, as I've talked about in previous podcasts, if I'm strong, then I take away my strength. If I am good at cardio, I take away my cardio. What is left? Well, I've got to be good at flexibility, and I'm not good at flexibility. So that is my weakness. So I must focus on my weakness. And so the thing to focus for me at the moment is making sure that I stretch much more. And for me, doing it every day is very difficult, but I do stretch 3 times a week. And so it's found that my psoas muscle, I know, very common again for runners, is actually very tight. My hamstrings are very tight, and so I have to make sure that I'm doing a lot of stretching that reflects that on the hamstrings, and on not doing any lower back exercises. When I say back exercises, bad squats basically, bad squats, bad deadlifts, all of these things. So finding that as well. And you can see here that there is a compromise in some areas. You have to find those compromises. I know it sucks if you're like me and you're someone who has this pride in going into the gym and go, you have to find those exercises you can do that for, and you can enjoy that. But the problem is you can't injure yourself. And this is what I'm bringing back to what I said earlier in the podcast. You've got to find these workouts that you can do continuously without getting injured, without getting to the strain where you can't do a workout the next day. And you have to find the enjoyment in it. So if you don't like going to the gym, go do something else. go do calisthenics. If you don't like calisthenics, go do jiu-jitsu. If you don't like jiu-jitsu, go do rock climbing. Go do something that's going to push your body for muscle mass, that's going to build the muscle mass. And then if you don't like running, go do the cardio that's going to help you. Even if you're just fucking walking for 5 miles at a time, just do it. Like, there's no excuses to allow yourself to get soft in society today. There is no excuse. Like, you would have to be a builder on a building site working 8 hours a day every single day for me to even consider you to be having an excuse. So if you're working any other sort of job where you're working from home, or you're remote, or you're in an office, or if you're in any sort of like lackadaisical job where you're sitting on your ass most of the time, no excuses for you. Now, if you're getting 10,000 steps or more during your work and you're walking around, you can continue to do this as well. You can make sure that you're eating a good amount of calories. But what I do notice with people like that is that they slip very easily. They allow themselves to not do cardio because they think they're walking so much during their job that they don't need to. Now, this is counterintuitive, I know, but I would say be very careful with your calories. You may overestimate the amount you're going to eat to get to that point. So keep in mind of that, and make sure that you are eating a calorie sort of balance in terms of, depending on where you're at. If you're overweight, calorie deficit. If you're underweight, calorie surplus. If you're in the middle and you just want to get those sort of like good physique, it's just a continuous, I know this sounds shit, it really is, I know, but it is a trial and fail process. I can't give you an exact amount because for me personally, it's taken years to figure out, like chopping and changing of calories to be able to figure where that amount is and what foods suit me. Like, I know it's a fucking ball. Like, I know it takes fucking forever. I know I'm swearing a lot in this podcast. I'm very sorry for those listeners who are against that. Like, you can send your praises later.
Straight to hell, to the boiler room of hell, all the way down.
Your comments later. But if you can, if you have the patience, if you have the toughness to be able to figure that out, to take the next 5 years to go forward and do that. And I've talked about this in previous podcasts as well. Who are you making commitments to the person that you don't know you're going to be in 5 years' time? So take it a year at a time. Have that goal in your mind of, I'm going to, in 5 years' time, be this person. But be very wary that every time, each year, you're going to change as a person. Each day, each week, for instance. But you have to consistently do it. And by doing so, the person in those 5 years will thank you, and your mind will reflect your body. Don't allow yourself to get soft. Don't allow the world around you to basically make you who you are. Because if you do, you're not going to be happy. And you're going to find yourself in a very dark place, pointing the finger at the world. I love it. Get the fucking quote right, Chris.
Well, in my book, you either do it right or you get eliminated.
Pointing the finger at the world and saying you're the problem. But it's the thumb. Point at yourself and say, I'm the problem. Because this is the truth. We all love to get angry. We all love to, as I did earlier in the podcast, get annoyed at people who say you can't train 7 days a week. I get angry at myself because that's the truth. Because we all have this mindset of we need rest. But the truth is we all have this mindset of we're right and everyone else is wrong as well. That's not the case either.
Say it.
Fuck you.
After you say it.
You're really going to force me on this?
I'm at half-mast. I need to hear this.
Fine. You were right. Jump up your own ass and die!
Houston, we have no problems.
There's a balance. There's a tough period of time where you realize that you have to allow other people to be other people. But please, for the love of God, don't allow other people to dictate that softness. Mind, body. Become powerful in both. And utilize a little bit of darkness within yourself. Now, something that Jordan Peterson has talked about, and Joe Rogan and Jocko Willink and David Goggins and all of these other characters, Courtney DeWalter, for instance, we're yet to see her darkness yet, but I'm betting she has it. All of them utilize that. all of them utilized. Like, it doesn't matter how cool or good a person you are, we all have demons, we all have a monster that we're taming every single day. You have to bring that monster out when you're working out. Now, if you're like me and you're a solo person, when it comes down to working out, it's that much easier. You put the headphones on, you blast it out, and you summon those demons, and it is easy as hell. But if you work out with other people, it becomes a little bit more difficult because they don't know you. They don't know who you are. They don't know how to tap into those demons, but you do, and it is that much more difficult. So if you want to, 10x that difficulty and go on hard mode, then do that. But it's for you to figure out, and for you to, if you're at the end of this podcast, you already have the patience to be able to get to that point. And if you have the patience to get to that point, then you have this toughness that's going to link between the two and push yourself forward. And you may say, Chris, who the fuck are you to say all this? I'm the guy who you'll see pushing forward, raising the flag, the Urukai leading into Helm's Deep, diving into the war for all of you to see. That is my mindset. I'll blow myself up to be able to get to that point, to be able to lead that line, to be able to be the leader of the Rohirrim, to be able to push forward, to embarrass myself, to allow others to succeed as well. Because if there's one thing I want to hear one day in my life, it's, Grandad Taylor, how did you get to this point? Maybe it'll happen. Who knows? Thank you for listening to this week's podcast. If you are looking to get into that mental toughness, into that body and mindset, I'm really pleased you listened to this podcast, and I'm really glad that you are here and you're with me leading the line forward. This has been a Taylor's Tales podcast. This has been Chris's Corner. I've been your host, Chris Taylor. And as always, I hope to see you this time next week. Bye now.
You're going to be all right. You just stumbled over a stone in the road. It means nothing. Your goal lies far beyond this, doesn't it? I'm sure you'll overcome this. You'll walk again. Soon.